Good morning, everyone. Welcome into this day with Quimper Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Welcome to this place of peace. May we find some moments of quiet contemplation. Welcome to this place of celebration. May our hearts soar with gratitude for the gift of life. Welcome to this place of sacred love. May we gently hold all that is broken here. Welcome to this place of inquiry. Here, may we be challenged to open our minds and hearts ever wider. Come into this place of community. May we together draw the circle of love and justice ever wider. Welcome to this sacred place. Come, let us worship, celebrate, grieve, and love together. My name's Gary Forbes. I'm a member of the board here at QUUF. As we gather, I acknowledge that the water, land, and shorelines here in Port Townsend are the traditional territories of the Chimicum and Sklallam peoples. We honor and acknowledge our Indigenous members and neighbors and vow to help restore and sustain these homelands. If you're visiting today, I offer a special welcome and invite you to join us for refreshments and conversation in the fellowship hall after the service. We have a newcomers table near the patio doors where our greeters are ready to answer any questions you might have. Welcome to you all this morning. We're glad you're here. Now the announcements. Sign up to join a covenant group. These ongoing small group meetings are opportunities to have meaningful conversations in a safe and structured process. See Diane Haas for more information and to reserve your space. Today, after the service, Kathy Stevenson will be taking photos for our fall photo directory. She'll be outside on the patio. Don't miss the opportunity to be part of our fall directory. A photo directory is central to building connections in a community this size. And now here's Diane Haas with some exciting news.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Diane Haas, and I'll be honest with you, I'm so excited to tell you about our second annual sensational, intergenerational picnic potluck, that I'm afraid I might give myself hives. Have you heard the buzz? The picnic will be on Sunday, September 8th, right after the service. Mark your calendar. More buzz. We'll have games, crafts, cornhole, lunch, and a spectacular ice cream sundae bar. We'll also have music, maybe even my favorite song by the Beatles, Let It Be. A delicious lunch of chili, cornbread, mac and cheese, salad, and watermelon is planned with vegan, gluten-free, and dairy-free options. We need donations. The sign-up sheets are on the bulletin board in the foyer. And also volunteers to help with setup and takedown and all of that. So you can sign up there, or you can email me what you would like to do. I don't want to drone on and on, so I will leave you with words of wisdom from my Aunt Beatrice. Being together is so important. I hope you can be there.
And as we gather, let us settle our minds and calm our hearts with the ringing of the chime.
Good morning. Our opening words are by my colleague Sue Ayer, and they've been adapted. We are gathered here in search of answers to hard questions. We have come in search of understanding, in search of community. We have come in search of hope and healing. Let this be a place not only of searching, but of discovery. Let this be a place of learning and of wisdom. Let this be a place not only of meeting, but of connection. And let this be a place where healing fosters giving and hope fosters service. May we create here a circle of love, ever expanding and ever growing. It is good to be together this day. Will you join me, please, in our chalice lighting words for this morning? We light our chalice as a symbol of the light within us and the life that flows through the world around us. Let us join in singing together. It's number 163 in the Great Hymnal, if you want to follow along in the book, and the words will be projected. For the earth forever turning.
For the earth forever turning, for the skies for every sea, for the stars what dire we cherish, sing we a joyful song of peace. For the mountains, hills, and pastures in their silent majesties, for the stars, for all the heavens, sing we a joyful song of peace. For the sun, for rain and thunder, for the seasons' harmony, for our lives, for all creation, sing we our joyful praise to thee. For the world we raise our voices, for the home that gives us birth. In our joy we sing, returning home to our blue-green hills of earth.
We pause for a time of generosity and to receive an offering. Let me start again. We pause for a time of generosity and to receive an offering to support the life and ministry of QUUF. The ushers will come among you to receive the offering, and additional ways for giving will be projected. Please join me in our offering words. This fellowship is the community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm our lives within it.
I'll tell you, I love me some hammered dulcimer and flute. That was so lovely. And it's a familiar tune, so I was there whistling along with it. Yeah, I'm sure you appreciated my contributions. We set aside time each week to pause and consider the joys and sorrows that we bring with us into this space. We realize that our own personal joys and sorrows are only a small component of the joys and sorrows of the larger community of life. And so we place our first stone today, thinking in particular of the ongoing threat of climate change, and especially about the fires that are burning both nearby and across the West. And within the congregation, we place a stone for Anna Wolf, who's had to move her animals because of the Brennan fire. It's just above her house. All of her animals and she were under level 2 evacuation orders when I received this concern, this hope for her safety. So we place a stone for her and for all of the places that are burning. And we place one more stone, holding in our hearts these joys and sorrows, and also those joys and sorrows that are held silently in each heart. Thank you. I invite you to settle in for a few moments of quiet and contemplation, time for meditation or reflection or just stillness, as is most your custom. These words by Sue Eyre. Spirit of life and love, we have gathered here in search of answers to hard questions. We have come in searching of understanding, in search of community. We have come in search of hope and healing. Let this be a place not only of searching but of discovery. Let this be a place not only of learning but of wisdom. Let this be a place not only of meeting but of connection. And let this be a place where healing fosters giving and hope fosters serving. This is our prayer, that we may create here a circle of love, ever expanding, ever growing, ever all encompassing. So may it be. Amen.
Our first reading is from A Hidden Wholeness by Parker Palmer. We all need other people to invite, amplify, and help us discern our inner teacher's voice for at least 3 reasons. The journey toward inner truth is too taxing to be made solo. Lacking support, the solitary traveler soon becomes weary or fearful and is likely to quit the road. The path is too deeply hidden to be traveled without company. Finding our way involves clues that are subtle and sometimes misleading, requiring the kind of discernment that can happen only in dialogue. The destination is too daunting to be achieved alone. We need community to find the courage to venture into the alien lands to which the inner teacher may call us.
And our second reading from David Tracy's book, Plurality and Ambiguity, Hermeneutics, Religion, and Hope. He writes, when human beings converse, they may converse, of course, about themselves. They may exchange their narratives, expose their hopes, desires, fears. They may both reveal and conceal who they think they are and who they think the other may be, the other who now becomes the conversation partner. Conversation is a game with some hard rules. Say only what you mean. Say it as accurately as you can. Listen to and respect what the other says, however different or other it may be. Be willing to correct or defend your opinions if challenged by the conversation partner. Be willing to argue if necessary, to endure conflict, to change your mind if the evidence suggests it. These good rules are merely variations of the transcendental imperatives elegantly articulated by Bernard Lonergan. Be attentive, be intelligent, be responsible, be loving, and if necessary, change. Here end the readings for this day. was the last time you had a really good conversation? Think about that for a minute. Not the chat you have while sipping a cup of coffee after service, or the one where you and a family member are working out the details of how you'll tend to the chores around the house, or any of those, but one where you were really able to dive into something that was close to your heart, something that moved you, something that opened you up in an unexpected and meaningful way. Got one in your minds yet? I have to say, I have a pretty high standard for when it comes to what constitutes a meaningful conversation. Ralph Waldo Emerson is responsible for that, at least in part. In seminary, I had to read the divinity school address that he wrote, which most students read. Emerson, if you don't know, was a Unitarian minister, and he was invited, obviously, to give an address at Harvard Divinity School, which was the single training facility at that time. That's where all the Unitarian ministers did their training. And before I get to what he said that I want to quote, I have to tell you that every time I think about this essay, there's a description in it that strikes fear into all ministers' hearts, because he recounts an opportunity that he had to go hear someone preach on a Sunday morning, and he reports in this essay, "A snowstorm was falling around us. The snowstorm was real, the preacher merely spectral." It's the single line from that essay that every UU colleague of mine can quote. Now, and in fairness to Emerson, he only lasted a short while serving a congregation and went on to have the career as an essayist and lecturer and author. And I have to say that was probably just as well. But there's another line from that essay that has stuck with me for this 40-some years since I read it, which is relevant to our topic today. It's this. He wrote, "We mark with light in the memory the few interviews we have had with souls who made our souls wiser, that spoke what we thought, that told us what we knew, that gave us leave to be what we inly are. We mark with light in the memory the few interviews we have had with souls who made our souls wiser, that spoke what we thought, that told us what we knew, that gave us leave to be what we inly are." So let me ask again, when was the last time you had a really good conversation, one that opened vistas for you, one that allowed you to discover something or remember something of yourself? Some time when in conversation with another, you discovered who you inly are. Now, I'll admit that as an extrovert, and in the line of work that I'm in, I find myself in those conversations pretty regularly. It's the kind of conversations I have in lots of different settings. But I have learned over time, speaking of being an introvert, that when I process things, I have to do it out there. My other extroverts in the room, right? You have to process it out there. Until you've talked about it, you really don't know what you think, right? It's not until it comes out your mouth. I gather that there are people who do that work inside. Who knew? I happen to be married to one of those people, so I have figured it out over the years. I find it a bit mystifying how that works, and know that those of you out there who are also introverts find we extroverts a bit perplexing. And I'll tell you, I had a friend who was very engaged in the Myers-Briggs typology. Y'all know Myers-Briggs, ENFP up here, not a surprise to anyone who knows me. And he went to a conference around the Myers-Briggs, and the first category you get is introvert or extrovert. And at this conference, they put people in groups with their, various types, not the full type, but like the introverts and the extroverts were in separate groups, and the feeling and sensing and, all of those. So they got to ask the other type, their pair, the question that they most wanted the answer to. And the question the introverts asked the extroverts was, when do we start listening? Right? Every introvert in the room knows exactly what that means, right? Because we have prologues on prologues on prologues before we get to the stuff that we really need to say once we've figured it out, because we've already gotten there, right? So I have to also say that this friend was actually a romantic partner, and when he ended our relationship, he came, home one afternoon, and he was like, "We're finished." And I said, "Okay, let's sit down and talk about it." I hadn't gotten it at that point. He was all done with it. Anyhow, the point is to say that we recognize that all people process things differently and find insight in a variety of ways. And I think Parker Palmer is right when he says that we need other people to invite, amplify, and help us discern our inner teacher's voice. I do think he's right. To find and hear our inner voice, to uncover wisdom, to deepen into our hearts, we need one another. Yes, even you introverts. The journey of discovery and exploration of our inner life is one where we are well served by having some companions to help us along the way. I appreciate Parker Palmer's words that we heard earlier. We need one another on the journey to depth and ever-growing understanding of ourselves and our world. I'm going to share those words again because they're so good. We all need other people to invite, amplify, and help us discern our inner teacher's voice for at least 3 reasons. The journey toward inner truth is too taxing to be made solo. Lacking support, the solitary traveler soon becomes weary or fearful and is likely to quit the road. The path is too deeply hidden to be traveled without company. And finding our way involves clues that are subtle and sometimes misleading, requiring the kind of discernment that can only happen in dialogue. The destination is too daunting to be achieved alone. We need community to find the courage to venture into alien lands to which the inner teacher may call us. We need companionship on our journeys to grow and learn. It's part of why we come to a congregation, part of why we gather here. Those of you who read my blog from a couple of weeks ago, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand if you did. Those of you who read it will remember that we are using a program called Soul Matters to provide themes and resources this year for worship, for children and youth programming, and for some small group circles as well. So we'll take a month throughout the year, each month to explore the new values in our Article 2, in Article 2 that were adopted in June: justice and equity, liberating love, pluralism, transcendence, interdependence, and generosity. There are a couple of other themes in there to fill out the year. Now, for those of you who don't remember, Article 2 is part of the Unitarian Universalist Association's bylaws, and it's the part that describes our purposes and principles. It's required by Massachusetts state law that we have this. So over the last 2 years, that section has been reimagined ending with a vote to accept these new values at our General Assembly meeting back in June. We'll be looking at them and talking about them and exploring them this coming year. So one of the practices from the Soul Matters materials is that of disciplined listening to one another. So being in conversation and having disciplined listening. Now, we typically talk about deep listening when we're trying to be really present to another, really hear what someone has to say, really try to find ourselves in connection to them. We talk about that as deep listening. One of the things that distinguishes disciplined listening is the recognition, I think, that when we listen to each other, we always find some kind of resonance with our own experiences. And often, in my hearing of, and often hear an articulation of something that we've already discovered ourselves but didn't have the words to describe. I think it's that experience that Emerson suggested. We mark with light in the memory those few interviews with souls that made our souls wiser, that spoke what we thought, that told us what we knew, that gave us leave to be what we inly are. And here's what I love about this idea of disciplined listening, something that's new to me. The recognition that we receive a gift when we listen to one another with openness and attention. And there are three kinds of gifts, they suggest, that come to us. There's the gift of comfort. Perhaps in listening to someone else, you experience a recognition that you're not alone in your sorrow or discomfort, not alone in the joy that is deeply intertwined with loss. There's the gift of challenge, a different perspective or interpretation of a common experience, an idea that requires you to rethink much of what you thought you knew. Or a gift of memory, when you are taken back to a moment in your life, when you experience a resonance, something familiar because you've been there too. On this last one, I'll note that there's an informal rule among preachers that we don't mention dogs in sermons, right? And it's a true one, because, right, every one of you just went to the dog that you loved, right? You're like, oh, I had a dog. It was a great dog. You got the face, you got the bark, everything. So we don't mention dogs in sermons, just for exactly that reason, right? But when that moment comes in a group, that moment of recognition and of memory, that connectivity rises up. Company and conversation, I think, are essential to a life of meaning and purpose. We need each other to discover the truths that inspire and comfort us. We need one another to, in Nell Morton's words, hear one another to speech. We need one another to hear one another to speech, to be witnessed, to be acknowledged, to be held, to discover those truths that we inly know. And so this morning, just briefly, I'm going to invite you to have just a brief little conversation with somebody nearby you, perhaps not the person you came with, but it's not a hard and fast rule. And so I would be curious, when I was talking about those gifts that come, and as I mentioned them, I wonder if there was something that lifted up in your memory, right? A time when I said, when you recognize the gift of comfort, perhaps a recognition that you're not alone, of challenge or of memory, if there was a particular memory that lifted up for you. And I'll give you a moment to consider it, and then I invite you to find someone to have just a brief conversation with, share what lifted up for you, have them share, and then we'll come back. So take a moment to pause and then turn to someone. You know, I did this one other time, and when I started trying to get this, actually, it was during one of those greet your neighbor things, and we had a big gong like this, and this one time people just would not, you know, they were just like talking. Somebody came like from the back all the way up to the front to talk to somebody over here, and they're just talking. And I started hitting the gong. I hit the gong once, and they kept talking, and I hit the gong again, they kept talking. Hit the gong again, they kept talking, so I just started ringing it. Just continued to ring it. Guy comes over and says, "Do you know how annoying that is?" You know? Sometimes. Anyhow, but it's a good story. See, this is the lovely thing about when people do kind of quirky, odd things like that, is you get a good story out of it. All right, my friends, I hope that was a meaningful time for you, a nice conversation. And I just want to close by saying, as we approach the fall, as we approach this new year of programming in our covenant groups and our also programs launch, and in our committee work as we go into the fall, Let us be deeply in conversation with each other, speaking our truths, speaking our visions, our loves, and our hopes, and listening for all those gifts that come, the journey shared and the dreams made real, bit by bit. So may it be. Amen. Our closing hymn is number 354 in the gray hymnal, verses 1, 3, and 4. If you want to follow along there, the words will be projected.
We laugh, we cry, we live, we die, we dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we can call our very own. And we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a need to be together. We have our hearts to give, we have our thoughts to receive, and we believe that sharing is an answer. Our lives are full of wonder and our time is very brief. The death of one among us fills us all with pain and grief. But as we live, so shall we die, and when our lives are done, the memories we share with friends, they will linger on and on. And we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a place to be together. And we have the right to grow, we have the gift to believe that peace within our living is an answer. We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the waste of human strife. We search for truth, equality, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here to make sense of what we find. And we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found the joy being together. And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see, even to question truly is an answer.
Our closing words by Jim Wickman. May our faith sustain us, and our hope inspire us, and our love surround us as we go our separate ways, knowing that we will gather again in this beloved community. So may it be. Please join me in our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish our flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, or the power of transformation. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.